Welcome to Outlook Money's Retire Right series. This episode is a part of the Investor Education and Awareness Initiative of Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund in association with Outlook Money. Our topic of discussion today is mistakes to avoid in the retirement planning stage. So, to be able to enjoy a carefree retired life, I believe it is imperative to be very careful during the retirement planning stage. And this is when you are in your 30s and 40s, or maybe even in your 50s. But to optimize your planning, what you need to do is avoid certain mistakes that can derail your journey towards a smooth retirement life. I am Nidhi Sinha, editor Outlook Money, and I have with me today three panelists to discuss this crucial topic. First of all, I would like to welcome Mr. K.S. Rao, who's the head of the Investor Education and Distribution Development at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC. Mr. Rao has been striving to take financial literacy and investor education to various demographic segments across geographies over several years. We have with us Mr. Harsh Roongta, a personal finance and tax expert, SEBI RIA, and founder of the Association of Registered Investment Advisors. He is also an author. Our third panelist is equally multifaceted, Mr. PV Subramanyam, who's a chartered accountant, author, trainer, and personal finance expert. So, welcome, gentlemen, to this show. So, starting with the discussion right away, and I'll start with you, Mr. Rao. Before we start discussing, about the mistakes that people should avoid, uh, what is the ideal retirement planning stage for people to consider?
Good morning, and thanks, Nidhi, for having us here. And glad to be part of Subra sir and Archie for this session. And first, my compliments to you, Nidhi ji, for taking retirement as a theme across. I remember the Outlook is the only organization which has Outlook Money recently did Party After Party, and the series which is getting that awareness on the retirement spreading across the masses across the country. And congratulations for your successful organizing at Mumbai and wishing all the good luck for your Delhi event forthcoming.
Thank
And
you so much. And I also look forward to everybody's participations, and especially the financial advisors and the financial community to come and join us in Delhi as well, which is on October 4th and 5th, the next edition of 40 After 40.
yeah, that's fantastic. And and good. Thanks for these series of webinars, which are going to be in the next 2 or 3 or 4 sessions on the retiring right.
Mm.
And thanks for the question too. I mean, when to start the retirement, probably retirement planning. This is a question most of the times, we realize when somebody is approaching to 55. Now I am just coming 55, then I have to retire at 60. This is a question will come. And what could be the right time of retirement? Probably, I mean, I was reading this book of Subra Sir's Retiring Rich, and early you start even with a cup of coffee. One coffee you save, and then that you can start investing. You can retire truly rich. That is what all this book talks about. One when the coffee which is in Starbucks today, that much if you can save a day, then that can make you means. That is the story which conveys is starting the retirement as early as you got getting out of the studies and getting into the steady income. That is the phase you need to plan for retirement. I mean, if not plan for the retirement, planning for the retirement may come little later. At least save for the retirement. Probably we need to differentiate. This is the wisdom I get it from Arshunta ji, and how the savings, starting saving is important, and starting planning. Then at least start saving, then you start planning, kind of it. If you have not done, I mean, the right time to start is now. It is like a planting a tree. I mean, like the famous Chinese proverb says, had you planted 20 years back, that was the right time. If you have not planted it 20 years back, start right across. Whether you are in 20s, whether you are in 30s, whether you are in 40s, that is the time for starting it. And it is like, retirement is always considered I mean, the corpus which we create is always a uh, process of accumulation, and that accumulation is earliest you start accumulating, the power of compounding works in your favor. Then when you are looking for the decumulation stage, I we call this AD and BCs of the world, right? For us, this AD is accumulation and decumulation. When you accumulate, then earliest you start, that could be the best way to do it. And it is like I mean, the financial milestone which you intend to reach, probably you can reach it with the ease. But either way, nothing to worry. If you are at 25, you started, fantastic. If you are 55, not started, please start. That is also a fantastic. Starting now is the most important.
Absolutely. So start now, whether you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or even 50s. Even then, you need to kind of put your things in order to kind of look at your future. So now coming to the topic of the day, which is the mistakes that you should avoid, because, a lot of times these mistakes can really derail you. So starting with you, Mr. Roongta, and I'll put this question to all the panelists. What, according to you, is the top mistake one should avoid?
Uh, if I was to talk about the top mistake, I would say that it is basically in understanding what retirement means. I mean, uh, earlier we had these, careers that you worked, and typically you worked at a salaried job, and then at 58, 60, you sort of retired. And the idea that was sold to you is that you can go and sit in the beach in Bahamas and sort of sip martinis and have fun. I don't think that is true any longer. And the mistake you can make is in visualizing this retirement, no matter what the age, 20, 30, 40, 50. I think retirement essentially today is the ability to do the thing that you want, without having to bother whether it earns you money or not, right? It's a sort of a second innings. And I think for a successful second innings, it would be a mistake to just talk about wealth, uh, because the planning has never happened. We focus so much on wealth, but if you look at the secret of how your second innings can be successful, it would need five ingredients: health first. On top of that, you build wealth. On top of that, you have purpose. And to bind it all together, you need family and friends. And I think you need to plan for each part of this pyramid. You need to plan for health. You need to plan for wealth. You need to plan for purpose. It's not, the purpose is not going to dawn on you, one overnight when you are 58 and you have retired. You have to work towards what you want it to be. And it is really the fortunate people who are able to get to a purpose. And we've seen that people with purpose are able to have a much better second innings. None of this would work. You can have ample corpus, you can have a purpose. If your health is not good, what will you do? How will you ever enjoy the wealth? How will you be able to bind yourself with family and friends? So I think understanding that it is a multi-layer thing, and each part of that layer is complicated. So if you look at health, you need to look at not just diet or exercise or sleep. There are emotional health. Everywhere you will see family and friends sort of being a binding factor. Same with wealth, and same, much more important, for purpose. So I think having a holistic view, and that is asking for a lot, because people don't even plan for the most, easiest out of the three, which is wealth. So here I am, sort of expanding the pie to say, not just wealth, please look at health and purpose, and concentrate on family and friends to sort of bind it together. It's a tall order, but people who do it will really enjoy their second innings.
But I have another question to you, Mr. Rungta, from what I get from you. See, in India, a lot of families, at least in the urban spaces, are moving to this nuclear system. So, of course, the importance of family is still very, very high in the Indian society and culture. But living alone is also become a reality for parents, as in, basically children go out to other cities, or rather other countries, and people are alone. So that is also something that you believe one should plan for. So there are maybe things that one may not expect, but one should think about carefully and plan for it?
Oh, absolutely. I think family and friends, as I mentioned, is important not just for your health and for your purpose, but also for your wealth. Just think about this.
Mm,
I've stayed in Bombay all my life, okay? And naturally, the flat that I sort of bought ages ago,
mm,
okay, today would be worth a lot, even if I have no other way. I sell it and go and stay in my native village. Okay. Even if I have to buy, I don't have to buy. I have my ancestral home. Even if I have to buy, it will be a fraction of what I can get by selling my flat in Bombay, and I can live very easily. Why
mm.
don't I do it? Why won't I even consider it? Okay. And that's because of the social circle, not necessarily family. So I think the concept of family staying together, the joint family, now I think the Hindu undivided family exists only within the pages of the Income Tax Act.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I don't think the joint family exists any longer. But that does not mean that family ties are not important. I think a close knit family that comes together to celebrate and comes together in times of crisis, where you have the confidence that they will come together. I think that is very important. And that is why the importance of friends has become so paramount. And that is one reason why people find it very difficult to move out of their known environment and move, somewhere else. So, family and friends, extremely important. It does not matter that they stay overseas. So friends, will substitute other family members, and family is no longer this small little family. We've seen many instances where even distantly related people, but because their minds meet, they become a support system for each other. So the kind of things that you will go through when you are in your second innings is going to be very different from the kind of emotional or social challenges you face in your first innings. And I think you will need uh, people who are along on the journey to support each other. You support them, they will support you. It has to be a mix of family and friends. It can't be only family, it can't be only friends.
Right. So, as I understand, the top mistake, according to you, is maybe not looking at things holistically and not planning for a purpose in second innings after retirement and just concentrating perhaps on the financial part of it. So, that is a very useful insight. But I'll come with the same question to Mr. Subramanyam now. What according to you, is the top mistake that people make during the retirement planning phase?
Okay, there are two, three parts of retirement planning. So if you ask a 22-year-old to start planning for retirement, he's going to laugh because his father has also not retired. Perhaps his grandfather has also not retired. So that is not going to happen. But the 22-year-old can be told you will require a big amount of money, whether it is 4 crores or 40 crores, doesn't matter. So he or she has to start putting money away for retirement. Now, that is not planning for retirement, but planning to put money away for retirement. Actual retirement planning starts much later. Like all that Harsh said, you have to have family, you have to have friends, all that planning can start at the age of 50 if you want to retire at 55, right? Deciding where to stay, all that can start much later. But right when you're 22, the first thing to do is to save and invest for retirement. Why save? Because saving is a habit which you have to form. You earn 100 rupees, you have to put away maybe 5 rupees for retirement, because that kid has other priorities. Got marriage, he's got maybe buying a two-wheeler, four-wheeler, whatever, right? All those things are going to take priority. At 22, it's not even marriage. It is just buying some toys, an expensive phone or motorcycle or things like that. Maybe at 32 or at 28, 29, marriage and kids and all that. So at that stage, a little more orientation. So saying, okay, you have been putting 5,000 rupees or you have been putting 10,000 rupees, abhi usko 15,000 kar do, that kind of a thing. So planning is a word which has to be used very carefully. Initially, you're only saving and investing for retirement. Planning starts at a much later stage when you start planning where to live. Maybe you live in a senior citizen home and go and create friends there. because all your friends with whom you grew up, in fact, just have an analysis, the place where you grew up as a kid, everything must have changed there, right? All your friends must have got married, gone off to different places. So even if you were to go back there, there may be some nostalgia, but no friends may be left. So you have to create friends wherever you go. At 65, if you go to a senior citizen home, which I plan to, you can create friends there. And then maybe at 80, 85, you go to a geriatric care where you may need somebody, right, to feed you and bathe you and things like that. So it's a longish plan, but all that planning can happen at 50. But if you are at 50 and you've not have enough money, or you have not planned, the biggest mistake that I see is people think they can do it themselves. They can't. They need the help of a financial planner, whatever you want to call him. You want to call him an RIA, an MFD, or whoever, somebody who has been there, done that, who has learned about it, because that person will be able to tell you on asset allocation, on taxation, on how to withdraw, etc. And for this generation, it becomes even more important, because this is one thing for which you cannot borrow. You can borrow for your marriage, for your child's marriage, for your car, for your education. You cannot borrow for your retirement. You have to provide for it yourself. So if somebody tells you you need 10 crores or 20 crores, that whole corpus has to be ready way before you can retire. So financially, the biggest mistake which I see people make is not taking the help of a professional who knows the subject. Even for chartered accountants who are in service, etc., their ability to plan their personal finances is zero. Not many of them can do it. So seeking the help of a professional is not seeking the help is the biggest mistake, which I think people should be careful.
Definitely. That is something that we also at Outlook Money strongly believe that, even people who are knowledgeable, they may not have adequate time to plan for themselves, perhaps. So it is imperative to kind of seek professional help so that, you can really take your planning ahead in a more organized fashion. But you were also talking about the inability to borrow in retirement years, Mr. Subramanyam, and I totally agree with you. But I also have a question on the reverse mortgage that is quite popular globally. In India it's there, but maybe at a very nascent stage or in a very small way. Uh, what do you it is a form of borrowing, as I can see, in a way, because you put your loan on mortgage again. So what are your views on that?
Understand that mortgage, the amount that you're going to borrow is a fraction of what you have, right? It's not that you're buying a 4 crore house and 3 crores is being paid by a bank. It is a 4 crore house on which you are allowed to withdraw maybe 10,000 rupees a month. The amount that you get is going to be so fractionally small that you can't even believe it. Because first of all, the valuation depends on the company which is wanting to give you a mortgage. It starts at the age of 72, and the house has to be less than 17 years old, right? So if you are living in a house which you bought maybe when you're 55, uh, then it's not eligible. So unless you have bought a house after that, you will not be eligible. So it is not very popular. Second, our housing finance companies are so busy lending to youngsters that they are not interested in this market. So unless the government pushes, the size of this market is small. It is not attractive at all for anybody unless there are big tax breaks coming for the person who is doing it, not for the person who is taking the loan. Then maybe something will happen. But right now, you can safely ignore that market. The other problem is many of the kids don't want the parents to borrow. So they pressurize and say, nahi, ghar chala jayega, and they scare them. It's not true, but I've seen that happen. So whether a person at that age, maybe at the age of 72, 73, whether you will be able to go to a bank and be able to do that transaction, I have my doubt, because the youngsters in the bank don't treat you too well. So will that market take off? I don't know. It could take off if agents are appointed to do this. And then again, as usual, mis-selling, etc. will follow. You might lose your own house. The other problem with the house is for somebody who has only that, once you have given it as a mortgage to somebody and taken a loan against that, you will be in trouble, simply because if you have an emergency and you want to borrow 10 lakhs and you don't have it, that lending company has to consider giving you an extra loan for that, because that property is already pledged. Practically, I don't see it as a very big thing, but right now, no, maybe in 10 years it could take off. But right now, if you're 65, don't bank on it. If you're 45, you could bank on it. Hopefully, in another 25 years, we will have a decent mortgage market, reverse mortgage market.
Right. So that was very informative because, we often do get queries on reverse mortgage and what are the options. But that was a very, very, you've cleared all the doubts of our viewers, I'm sure, about that market and why it is important to be prepared with other assets and not immediately think of reverse mortgage, perhaps because it will be difficult. So now I come to you, Mr. Rao. What is the top mistake according to you?
Probably, after both of them, they spoke about the top mistakes. Probably I can talk about the bottom mistakes now. Rather than one mistake, I can talk about multiple mistakes. That's like, as rightly put it, holistic approach, which is now missing there. But most of the times there is I call this as an ROI. It's a risk of ignorance that you are going to retire. You will, this is a long, like most of us, we plan for those goals which gives them happy outcomes. You have a child education, you have buying a vehicle, or you can, and this is an outcome which is long postponed and you won't get. And I look at the mistake is, one is you are not planning for it rightly, and second, I look at is the another ROI, that is a rate of inflation, and which
Hmm.
eats away. It's most of them, they won't account. I have seen the people, they so-called, they plan for the retirement, they stay, but all that they look at is, I have accumulated some X amount of the money, but they have not accounted rightly what is that ROI, the rate of inflation. Probably, and the assumptions. We have a multiple assumptions for the retirement, and most of these assumptions most of the assumptions are variables. It could be rate of interest. It could be return on your income. It could be a regularity of your income, and it's a reliability of income. And all these ROIs, if we are planning rightly, these are the mistakes we can avoid. And the another one, to look at multiple things I can add is, one, we start too late for the retirement. We think of the retirement, as earlier we spoke, somebody, as the steady income comes in, even somebody is getting into the very good job after IIMs, IITs, then still they won't plan, because it's not happening, starting too late. And the second assumption is underestimating the expenses post retirement, what is coming in, because we can't visualize what kind of expenses are going to come, because lifestyle is undergoing dramatic change. What kind of lifestyle you need to, I think earlier when Harshji was talking about changing the place, people can't assume that, how I can visualize where I am going. And as I put it earlier, it's the ignoring of the inflation, and failing to diversify, and I have seen a few guys, either NPS or my retirement, my company is giving, it is sufficient with me. These are the mistakes we need to avoid. And the last one is the lifestyle, which is one you intend to adapt for. And you can look at what kind of lifestyle you would like to. Not everyone, like Subra sir, as he was mentioning, I can go to the retired homes, and there is a psychological difficulty for some. Then
Hmm.
what kind of lifestyle you need to look at? And these are the multiple mistakes I look at. But the biggest mistake in the of these multiples is your ROIs, multiple ROIs.
Right. So those were very interesting mistakes that Mr. Rao pointed out. In fact, one of the important things that is coming out from whatever I've heard from all three of you is, of course, it is important to start early, but perhaps people who are working in this financial literacy and awareness domain need to kind of hide the word retirement to say future planning or something, especially for the youngsters, because the minute you hear retirement, like Mr. Subramanyam was saying that, oh, my father has also not retired, so why should I start planning? So that may be a very interesting thing. But now I want to flip this question of mistakes, because now that we have discussed mistakes, we should also know that, what kind of what are the most important factors that can drive an individual towards successful retirement planning? So again, I'll put this to all of you, and I'll start with Mr. Roongta, that we have spoken about mistakes, like I said. So could you quickly address the main factors that people should really consider at the time of retirement planning?
So again, I'm going to give a little different answer simply because I think wealth is something that everybody will talk about, and it is really important to start early, as Mr. Rao said and Subra said. Uh, Similarly, even if I specify at the risk of repetition, okay, it is very important to start early for health as well. Okay. So most busy executives, okay, typically, and I've been guilty of that as well, would spend say 6 hours, just about 6 hours. They're burning the candles at both ends. They would spend 6 hours sleeping. Treat that one extra hour as your sip for better health. That's a systematic investment plan for better health. Treat that 1 hour of exercise as a super sip, okay, for a much better tomorrow. Add 5 minutes to it every year, just like you increase your sip amounts. Okay, same way, add 5 minutes to it. I think treating this as important. Everybody realizes health is important, okay, but everybody ignores it. Everybody. I think that is the unfortunate fact. And we are seeing the results of that. We're seeing lifestyle diseases. I'm sorry, this is not but this is very important. It is as important as having adequate money for retirement. Because what will happen if you may do the money by burning, the candle at both the ends. But by the time you sort of are ready with all the money, your family and friends would have sort of scattered because you have had no time for them, right? And your own health will not support you. So I think I'm saying, so the positive side of this is realize it is important, treat these health sips as important as. So I think the mutual fund industry has made कि सिप सही है, ओके, वैसे ही एक्सरसाइज की सिप भी सही है और स्लीप की सिप भी सही है. ये this message also needs to go out, and then I think you can work on a much better retirement.
That's a very, very interesting perspective. In fact, Mr. Rungta, it reminds me of a meme I recently saw. Was that an old couple is because a lot of times people think that that is the time to travel when you're old because you have the money and you don't have any responsibilities. So this old couple is on a boat in Venice, but both of them are sleeping, perhaps because their health doesn't allow them to enjoy the sights around them. So absolutely point taken. So I'll move to Mr. Subramanyam now and ask him about what, according to you, is the top factor that you should keep in mind while planning for retirement.
See, first of all, there is a pull retirement and a push retirement. A push retirement when the company is saying, boss, तुम 40 का हो गया अभी जाओ या तुम 45 का हो गया अभी जाओ, that is a push retirement. The pull retirement is when your hobbies and are pulling you towards and saying, hey, you need to climb the at least go to Everest base camp even if you can't climb the Everest. That kind of if the fun activity is filled in your life, which your wife also participates, that's great. If she doesn't participate, you have a groups with which you go, because it's not always everybody enjoys the same thing. So there should be some common hobbies with your wife and some hobbies which your wife may have differently from you. So that those things have to be in place first. So if you're talking of financially, first of all, retirement planning is a nightmare because we all say you need 30 times your annual expenses. So at 60, if your annual expenses are 5 lakhs, you need into 31.5 crores. Now just imagine if you had asked me in 2017 and I had said, okay, you need 1.5 crores to somebody, and that person ended up paying 35 lakhs for his parents' COVID treatment. Okay, so 1.5 crores में से 35 lakhs चला गया. That's huge. Now, out of 10 crores, if you lose 35 lakhs, it's different. But out of 1.5 crores, if you lose 35 lakhs, you'll have to go back to work. So we will always err on the side of caution. If somebody sits with you and says you need 5 crores for retirement, you would rather have seven. You will not have 4.5. You will not even have 501. You would want some cushion. What if I live too long? What if I live till 104? That kind of, we always want to be prepared. So understand one thing, you don't know how long you will live. You don't know how much you will spend. You do not know how much will be the return that you get on your investment. You do not know what will be inflation. You do not know how much will be the medical expenses towards the end of your life. So all of it is unknown. It's like, when you plan a trip from, say, Andheri to Pune, your Google map tells you 4 ghanta lagega. It'll take 4 hours for you to reach. But even that does not know that there is an accident in Chembur where you're going to be held up for half an hour. It doesn't know. But as you go, it will tell you, okay, it's going to take you 5 hours because there is an accident or whatever be that. It'll show you a lot of red lines. Here, we don't have a map. We don't have anybody to guide us. All these are unknown, and still you're planning. If you get it right, you're smart. If you get it wrong, that is going to happen because all these are open variables. So people with children, it is slightly different, especially, in fact, I keep saying there are two types of retirement. One, when you know that you have adequate money, and second, when your kids start earning well, and they don't need this money. So that's the second level of comfort, saying, oh, my kid has got educated and he or she has started earning. So they are not going to come and claim a share, whatever, right or wrong, they're not going to come and claim. So those are two stages of retirement. But yes, understanding each of these, understanding that it is something, all are unknowns, the unknown unknowns. We know that we don't know that. Understanding that is important, because your financial planner tells you you need 3 crore 42 lakhs 50,712 rupees. Don't take it. Take it with a shovel of salt. You may need 7 crores, or you may need just 1.5 crores. We just have too many variables. Understanding that these are variables and these are not fixed. There is no Lakshman Rekha, or there is no, it's not carved in stone. Understanding that is step one. And step two, most Indians vary their lifestyle. So if they have money, they will make a foreign trip. If you don't have money, they'll make a trip to Goa from Bombay. So they adjust that. And understanding that how much you can withdraw is not fixed. You cannot say I will withdraw 5% every year. When the markets are doing good, you may withdraw 7. When the markets are doing badly, you may withdraw 4. Understanding that everything is a variable. That is why you need somebody with whom you can talk about your retirement as much as a person who is helping you invest. So talking about retirement, taking care of your health, your friends, the surroundings in which you live, and money. Money may be the fifth point after all this. So planning for everything is what you're going to need.
Right. So I take the question to Mr. Rao now.
Probably I can sum it up what Subra sir said itself. I mean, the factors to consider, because he spoke the multiple stuff which we can look at. I mean, sometimes we presume that all the retirees will not have any debt. The first thing to consider is how you manage your debt, the factors to consider. Managing the debt, minimizing the debt, or making that a zero debt. Then your investment strategies, probably, various buckets I would have invested, but am I accounted for my market volatility? Things are looking good when I am planning, but things may not be looking good while I am retiring. Then what is my strategy to look at? Then the taxation angle, how you are looking at post retirement, your tax free income, how much you can get as much as possible, or tax efficiency of it. Then you have a multiple income streams, not one income stream, so that you are comfortable, the factors you can look at. And your healthcare needs, I mean, not just insurance, your healthcare and your family healthcare, how we are account for it. And earlier, as we spoke, the things to consider is the lifestyle, because that's the most of it is a psychological. I mean, if you are going to stay in a place which you don't like, then you are just going to die. And the last one is longevity. I mean, factors to consider. Probably you have to think that you are living much longer, and much longer with a healthy life, fantastic. But otherwise, how you factor it. And then comes the professional advice. If that is one place is there, rest of the things have been taken care.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roongta, Mr. Rao, and Mr. Subramanyam, because this was a very, very wholesome discussion where we just didn't, concentrate on the financial part of it, but also your lifestyle, so that you ensure that you have a healthy life, and maybe you don't have to put enough, you don't have to put extra money for your as your health fund once you are healthy. So, and compromising, of course, is a trait that often Indians show. And like Mr. Rao said, that seeking professional advice can perhaps holistically solve all your problems, because a lot of financial planners, most financial planners, in fact, they will not just look at your finances, but also your holistic life and how it'll pan out during retirement. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for this session.
Yeah. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Nidhi. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.